Is Sleepless Empire a game changer or just another album? Today I'm talking about the new album by Lacuna Coil. This is their 10th album, was released on February 14th, 2025. This is an Italian Gothic metal band featuring vocals by Cristina Scabbia and Andrea Ferro. This is a follow-up to their 2019 album, Black Anima. On this album, we see a slight progression in the band's sound. Let's talk about it some more. First, let me tell you how I discovered this band. I first listened to them about 10 years ago. It was around the time streaming services were more available. I started to get back into metal music after taking a break from it for a few years. I was in the process of doing a deep dive into all the Megadeth albums, and they were one of my favorite bands when I was younger, so I wanted to listen to all the albums I missed. I came across the re-recording of A Tout Le Monde that was re-recorded for their 2007 album, United Abominations. I really liked the voice of the female singer, so I looked her up, and I saw her name was Cristina Scabbia, and I saw she was in a band named Lacuna Coil. So since then, I have been following the band. I think the first album I had heard from them was Delirium from 2016. After that, Black Anima from 2019. So it's an album I have been looking forward to. Back to Sleepless Empire, let me give you a little background on the album. They started to write songs for the album back in 2022 after they did a re-recording of their 2002 album Comalies called Comalies XX, which is considered to be their best album and the one that helped them break out. So according to Andrea Ferro, he said that the re-recording of Comalies helped influence the sound of this album. So you'll be hearing an influence from their earlier years on these new songs. They recorded the album in Italy throughout most of 2024. The album features guest appearances from Randy Blythe of Lamb of God and Ash Costello of New Year's Day. There was also a change in lineup back in June of 2024. Their longtime guitarist, Diego Cavalote, left the band amicably, and the band got a new guitarist named Daniele Salome. He's from the band Inverno, and he made his live debut when the band played a venue in the country of Romania. This band is considered to be Gothic metal. Now, it's one of those genres that's hard to define. If you Google the term Gothic metal, you're going to get a lot of different bands. So, for example, you're going to get My Dying Bride, Catatonia, Evanescence, and Typo Negative. And those are four bands that sound completely different. The only thing they have in common is that they have a dark and gloomy sound. So I think Lacuna Coil fits that description. There's also a term that I heard for the first time, and it's called the Beauty and the Beast, referring to the vocals, which are the harsh male vocals and softer female vocals. So Lacuna Coil has that male and female vocals, that Beauty and the Beast sound. It's very unique. It's a cross between nu metal, symphonic metal, and metalcore. I guess that's how I would describe their sound. So now we have established that. I'm going to talk about the album. They released 6 singles prior to the release of the album. The album has 11 tracks. Most of the album had been available, which was good because I was able to spend some time with the singles. So with that being said, I think the album tracks were better than the singles. And I guess it makes sense because most metal bands have a tendency to release songs that have more of a broader appeal or are more accessible to a wider audience, and then leave the heavier tracks for the album. I have been noticing this lately with other bands, so I don't know, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. But now, let me jump into the songs. The opening track is The Siege. This is a really good song. It comes right out the gate with a lot of aggression. It has harsh vocals. Cristina comes in with her softer vocals. The song is heavy, but also melodic. I like the powerful drums and the interplay between the two main vocalists. I think this track sets the stage for the album, shows they are going for more of a retro sound, like the sound they had in the early 2000s. Which I know was their intention. The guitar also sounds very good as it adds this chugging rhythm that helps drive the song, and it makes you think. The song is over at one point with some orchestral parts, and they add like a few more seconds of heaviness. So it's a really strong start, and it made me wonder, is this album really a game changer? Next song is Oxygen. This was one of the singles. I thought it was pretty good. The opening vocal part by Cristina reminded me of Poppy, but when the song takes off, it gets pretty heavy. It had more of a commercial sounding chorus, but it gets heavy in between the choruses, has some killer verses. You can hear the 7-string guitar riffs, and that was pretty cool. Next is Scarecrow. It's an album track. It's not too bad. One of the slower moving tracks had some heavy moments, but one of the catchier songs, so it probably could have been a single. as it was one of the more accessible songs, but this was still pretty good. There was some cool interplay with the guitar riffs and the vocals. I thought everything was very good. I thought it had some intense moments in the second half of the song. In addition, it had some cool bass playing that helped with the rhythm. After this was another one of the singles called Gravity. It was an okay song. It wasn't one of my favorites. It had more of that electronic sound with the metalcore elements, but had some cool symphonic elements and the vocals sounded very good. Song was more accessible, but despite this, there were some harsh vocals. Also one of the slower moving songs, but overall it wasn't too bad. So far the album has a strong start, but with a few tracks in the middle that were okay, things are starting to look better. So the next song, I Wish You Were Dead. This is the most recent single, and my favorite of the singles. The beginning reminded me of something like that, Annette Olson era Nightwish, but the song just comes in, it's classic Lacuna Coil. It's one of the catchier songs. I felt it was very well written, very well performed. It's not one of the super heavy songs, but I like it a lot. It's just very catchy. It's just one of the few songs that doesn't have any harsh vocals, or maybe very few, but I liked it a lot. After this was one of the singles, Hosting the Shadow, featuring Randy Blythe of Lamb of God. Another one, it was not too bad. Randy Blythe made it sound more like a Lamb of God track, but with Cristina on vocals, if that makes sense. It's heavy, it's aggressive, it had a catchy chorus. It wasn't too bad. At this point in the album, I wasn't super impressed with the 3 tracks I just spoke about, but things are going to take a turn for the better. So after this is In Nomine Patris. A cool song, begins with some like Gothic chanting, and then takes off with a pretty melodic instrumental section, which sounded a little like atmospheric black metal, but then they take another turn into this cool groove metal guitar riff. There's both clean and harsh vocals, and I thought it was a very nice, had a really nice bass guitar groove. I also thought the guitar solo stood out. It was very melodic. So overall, it was one of the better album cuts. After this are 2 album cuts that have the word sleep in the title, followed by 2 singles, and that closes out the album. So next track is called Sleepless Empire, or the title track. It was one of the better ones. It had a slower pace, but with a thicker and more dense sound. The guitar riffs were more intense, and a nice contrast between the 2 vocal styles. This is the type of song where it's best to listen to with headphones. You can hear different layers of sound, and they're all like built in within the same song. I like the creepy interlude, and it almost goes silent before picking up the pace again. So it's a really good song. But the last of the deep cuts, or the album cuts, is called Sleep Paralysis. And this one has this intro, kind of gives that electronic metalcore sound that a lot of modern bands use. But Cristina's vocals gave it a darker tone. It was one of those songs where Cristina's vocals were in the forefront and Andrea's vocals were just to give the song a thicker sound. I also like how they gave this weird futuristic rhythm section that drives the song. Lyrics describe someone experiencing sleep paralysis, so it's meant to be a scary experience, and this is a section where everything gets faster and heavier. So the first part of the song builds up suspense, or in other words, this is one of the better tracks. The next track features a band that I've never heard of, so let's talk about it. Next was one of the singles, In the Meantime. This features Ash Costello on New Year's Day. I was unfamiliar with this band, so I looked them up, and I saw they were another Gothic metal band from California. Ash Costello is actually a woman, and she sings in the band. You can see her in the music video. She helps out with the chorus. As for the song, it's one of the singles I felt was more memorable. When I listened to it again, I remember the chorus, as it was one of the songs that stuck in my head more than the other singles. It's a good song, a nice mix of the clean and harsh vocals, and one of the better songs that was released before the album. And the last track is one of the singles called Never Dawn. Another one that had a modern metalcore sound with some electronics, some chanting vocals, and it has this thing where I hear they like build it up and then they say the word run and then it takes off. It's something that I've heard before. I've heard it in other songs. I can't think of what song it was, but it's a pretty cool song despite that. They have a lyric video, the song has a nice groove, and one of the harder rockers. There are also some symphonic elements used in the background, so it gave it another layer of sound. So in conclusion, it's a good album, but in the end, it's just another album. I don't think it's one of those groundbreaking albums that will be remembered as one of the best, but it was a decent follow-up to Black Anima, and probably a little better. My score is a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10.
It will probably make my end of the month top 10, but maybe a little lower as the first weekend or last week. There were great albums that came out. So it's going to make my top 10, but like in the lower end. But in the meantime, check out my review of the latest album by Ginger. I'll stick that one right there. I felt that's a similar band to this one. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.